Hi, everyone. Before we get started, I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for your patience and for sticking with GovCon Hacks. I've taken a little time away, and while I'm easing back in, starting with faceless screen share trainings like this one, the goal hasn't changed, helping you to make better decisions in government contracting without wasting time, money, momentum, or resources. So today's training comes directly from a community member's question earlier this week, which is how do I actually qualify these government opportunities before I decide to bid? So this is about your go, no go analysis, not theory, not motivation, but actual decision logic. Thanks for tuning in today. We're happy to have you. And if you haven't done so yet, please be sure to like and subscribe. Tap the bell to receive notifications so that you can get notified for new videos like this one. So, government contracting rewards disciplined decision making, not necessarily just effort alone. So, what I see over and over again is contractors measuring their progress by how many bids they submit this month, not by whether those bids were ever actually winnable to begin with. Proposal time is finite, budgets are finite, team capacity is finite. And when you spread those resources across poorly qualified opportunities, you're not increasing your chances, you're actually diluting them. So, from the buyer side, this shows up quickly. Evaluators can tell when a bidder doesn't fully belong in the competitive set. So, this training exists to help you make fewer, better decisions earlier before you commit hours, money, and momentum to the wrong opportunities. I do want to touch on who this training is for and who it's not for before we go any further. I do want to be clear about what you can expect. This is for contractors who are past the stage of bidding everything. You just throw stuff against the wall, you want to see what sticks. This is actually for teams who have limited proposal resources and want to protect them. And it's for businesses that care more about winning probability, bid volume. This is not for someone pursuing their very first government contract. It's not for businesses that rely on set asides alone to justify bidding. And it's not for anyone looking for a shortcut or a single yes or no rule without any context. Your go no go analysis is a business discipline, not a trick. So if you're willing to approach it that way, this framework will help you make clearer, more defensible decisions. Let's talk for a moment about the problem. Most contractors don't think they have a qualification problem. They think that they have a capacity problem. What's actually happening is that opportunity decisions are being made in the wrong order. So instead of starting with fit, relevance, and risk, the decision often starts with things like contract value, or is it set aside in our status, or how far away is the deadline? If the opportunity looks big enough or feels rare enough, everything else gets rationalized after the fact. So past performance ends up getting stretched, requirements get downplayed, pricing risk gets ignored. This is how teams end up spending weeks on proposals that were never really competitive to begin with. When qualification happens backwards, the proposal becomes an exercise in justification instead of alignment, and evaluators can see that immediately when they read your offer. So, from the buyer's perspective, qualification is not something that happens after the proposal is submitted. It's already happened internally, a long time before that solicitation was even released. So, by the time you really see any RFP, the agency has already made some key decisions about scope, risk tolerance, and how much flexibility they're actually willing to allow. The requirements you're reading aren't accidental. They reflect operational constraints, past performance issues, especially if it's a recompete, lessons learned on prior contracts, and the evaluation criteria also tell a very specific story. Under FAR Part 15, agencies are required to disclose what matters most in their evaluation, and they do that through trade-off language and evaluation method. Think LPTA versus best value. Whether an opportunity is LPTA or best value is especially important here. That choice signals how much differentiation the buyer expects and how much risk they're actually willing to accept. Agencies assume that bidders will more or less self eliminate if they cannot perform at the level the solicitation requires. So when they don't, it doesn't create opportunity, it just creates noise. A strong go no go decision align your business with how the agency already thinks instead of asking evaluators to stretch to make your proposal work inside their box. So when people hear go or no go, they often think it means a quick yes or no decision or a gut check before moving forward, right? In reality, a true go no go is a business decision, one that should be structured, defensible, and repeatable over time. Let's face it, we don't all want to be in this chair forever, right? So it's not about whether you like the opportunity, it's about whether the opportunity makes sense given your capabilities, your past performance, your risk tolerance, and your long term goals. A go no go decision should be something that you can explain clearly to someone outside your organization, whether that's a teaming partner, a proposal manager, or your future self in 6 months from now. If the only justification is it felt like a good one, that's not really a decision, it's a gamble. So, what we're working toward here is a way to qualify opportunities that removes emotion from the process and replaces it with actual logic that can be relied upon consistently. All right, so our go no go framework is essentially broken up into 5 decision buckets: the requirement fit, past performance relevance, competitive position, pricing and risk, and strategic value. We're going to break each of these down just a little bit further. We're going to start with the requirement fit. This is the first and most non negotiable part of any go or no go decision. This is where the compliance lives. Either you can meet the government's material requirements or you can't. There's no gray area here. Material requirements are the things that affect the government's ability to accept performance. So if you miss one, downplay one, or plan to just figure it out later, that's not really a competitive risk. It's really a disqualifier. So this bucket is also where hidden constraints tend to show up, right? So think about things like security clearances, geographic response times, facility access, certifications or professional licenses, or even staffing timelines that aren't always obvious at first glance. So if you find yourself saying, we could probably make that work, that's usually a signal to slow down. We're not in this for maybes. And strong bidders don't assume flexibility when it's not clearly written into that solicitation, right? They qualify opportunities based on what's required today, not what they hope the government might allow them to get away with later. Our next bucket, past performance. Past performance relevance is the most misunderstood parts of opportunity qualification. Many contractors hear past performance and immediately think about whether they have anything they can submit. That's not really the question the evaluators are asking. Evaluators are looking for confidence that you can perform this work for this type of customer under similar conditions and circumstances, right? So, relevance usually comes down to 3 things: the customer or the mission, the scope and complexity of the opportunity, and the level of risk involved. So, if you have to stretch the explanation of why a past project applies, the evaluator has to stretch too, and they're probably not going to. This doesn't mean that you need identical experience, but it does mean that the connection needs to be obvious without explanation. Strong go or no go decisions acknowledge when past performance is a weakness factor, and that plays into whether or not the opportunity is truly competitive. Competitive position is about understanding where you realistically sit in the field, not where you hope and aspire to land. This doesn't require perfect intelligence, but it does require some context. So, you should have a reasonable sense of who else is likely to bid, whether there's an incumbent on the opportunity, and how crowded the space tends to be. One of the most common mistakes that I see out here is assuming the competitiveness without any evidence. So, being qualified to perform the work is not necessarily the same as being competitive in evaluation. Differentiation matters here, but only if it's visible to the evaluator and aligned with that evaluation criteria. If your differentiator doesn't map clearly to how proposals are being scored, it may not help you at all, realistically. Incumbents deserve special attention. An incumbent doesn't always automatically mean no bid, but it does raise the bar slightly for justification. A strong go or no go decision acknowledges competitive reality early instead of discovering it halfway through the proposal development phase. We need to flush this out before we even put pen to paper. All right, next up, pricing and risk. Pricing and risk are inseparable in government contracting. You can't really talk about one without acknowledging the other. A strong go or no go decision asks whether you can price this opportunity competitively and deliver it without taking on too much risk that threatens the health of your business. We're not in this to go out of business or to lose money, right? So, this includes understanding your true costs, your labor assumptions, and how much margin you actually need to perform sustainably. Risk often hides in places that look manageable on paper, like staffing timelines, escalation clauses, performance metrics, or compliance requirements that require ongoing oversight. But if your pricing strategy depends on things going perfectly, that's not really a strategy. You're gambling. So, government contracts are designed to transfer that risk to the contractor, you. A disciplined bidder recognizes which risks they can control and which ones they can't, and factors that into the decisions moving forward. So, winning a contract that strains your cash flow, burns out your team, or forces constant course correction is rarely a real win. And last but certainly not least, strategic value. The most overlooked part of an opportunity qualification, and often the most important part. This bucket asks a simple question. If you win this contract, what does it actually do for your business? Strategic value can show up in different ways. It might deepen your relationship with a target agency. It might give you past performance that strengthens future bids. Or it might move you into a new scope or customer that aligns with your long term plan. So, what strategic value is not is chasing revenue without direction. A contract can be profitable and still pull your business away from where it needs to be going. This is where many contractors realize that an opportunity doesn't justify the time and energy required, even if they could win it. So, a strong go or no go process recognizes that saying no to the wrong opportunities creates that space to pursue the right ones with more focus and better outcomes. Let's talk for a moment about common mistakes. So, most mistakes aren't really caused by a lack of knowledge, they're caused by pressure. Pressure to stay visible, stay active, or even in some cases to justify time already spent tracking an opportunity. I know even I've been guilty of that one in the past. One of the most common mistakes is bidding simply to stay busy. Activity can feel productive, but if it doesn't move that business forward, then the opportunity was never really competitive. Another issue is letting set aside status override everything else. Set asides can reduce the competitive field, but they don't replace the need for fit, relevance, or capability. For example, if your search filters are set for only opportunities in the set asides that you're already in, that means the government already knows they have at least two businesses in those set asides. The opportunity to influence the acquisition and reduce your competition, that time has passed. So, another issue is ignoring the valuation weighting. That's a very quiet mistake that many folks make. If price, past performance, or technical approach carries more weight than you can realistically compete on, that matters, regardless of how attractive the opportunity looks overall. And finally, there's confusing interest with readiness. Liking an opportunity or wanting it to work doesn't mean the business actually is positioned to win it. Strong contractors avoid these pressures. They build processes that keep them from making decisions based on these pressures, right? If you do come across an opportunity and you're not quite ready for it, it's okay to no go at this time around, but pay attention to the end date and put it on your forecast for roughly 30 days before to 30 days after the contract end date. Start working that opportunity in advance and start getting ready for it. Use it as a checklist in itself, if you will. All right, so in government contracting, saying no at the right time can be more powerful to saying yes too quickly. A disciplined no bid protects your resources, your team, and your reputation with your buyers, whether present or future. Every opportunity you decline intentionally creates more capacity to pursue the ones that truly fit, where your proposal is stronger, where your risk is lower, and your chances of winning are often higher. So over time, this discipline just compounds into fewer bids, better alignment, and stronger outcomes. The most successful contractors aren't the ones bidding on the most opportunities. They're the ones making the best decisions before they ever even start writing. A quick way to sanity check your process is look at how many opportunities you're declining. If everything in your pipeline becomes a bid, qualification probably is not happening early enough or not at all. We have just uploaded to our training portal a bid no bid checklist that you can copy for each opportunity, at least until you get yourself into good habits of answering certain questions as you're reviewing these opportunities. I do my preliminary go or no go before the opportunity ever even hits my pipeline, assuming it wasn't already there. And if it doesn't pass my go or no go, I don't even spend another moment on it. So if you can imagine being halfway through a proposal and then finding a showstopper, it's very easy to waste 10, 20, sometimes even 30 hours going in the wrong direction. So head over to training.govconhacks.com and download the checklist. I'll also hyperlink the direct link into the description of this episode for easy access. It is at no cost. Just take it, use it, and please feel free to come back and provide your feedback. Thank you so much for tuning in. And again, the goal of this training wasn't to tell you what to bid. It was to give you a way to decide when bidding actually makes sense. So if this framework helps you think differently about your pipeline, that's the win. We'll keep on building these concepts over time, focusing on how these decisions get made by agencies, evaluators, and by smart contractors who want to grow without burning themselves out. So thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I'll see you in the next one, where we'll help you work smarter, not harder in business and government contracting. Have a great day, everyone.